Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Jim Flieler, Vice President of Sales for Charlotte Products in North America. Thanks for joining us today. Today is Wednesday, September the 15th of 2021. Creep closer to the fall and the winter coming up there, and cleaning is just as important in any season, regardless there. Today, following our theme of lowering the risk of an outbreak, we have a special guest, Par Ricketts, who's the Vice President of Business Development for Nuance Solutions. And he is really surrounding himself about really how microfiber can, matched with chemistry, can really benefit any type of facility across the world to really lower that risk of an outbreak. And without further ado, I'll actually introduce Par now, and he can walk us through all of the elements involved with his particular program. Thank you for joining us. Par, good morning.
Well, good morning. I want to thank both you and Jen for having me. Yes, these are important times. Post-pandemic, and I know over the past year and a half, there's been so much emphasis on proper disinfection and critical touch points and things like that, and that's very important. And I'm an optimist. I think all this attention post-pandemic has just caused us in our industry to really look at all cleaning, all disinfecting of all surfaces. And from my perspective, that's long overdue, and it's a very, very good thing. So I call myself a recovering soil spreader. I, like most people in this industry who have been in it for a while, I spent most of my career using traditional cleaning tools. When I say traditional cleaning tools, you're looking at one right there that's as traditional as they come, been around for decades, that single cavity mop bucket with a cotton string mop. And I did this for, nearly 25 years using tools like that. And the fact of the matter is, we now know in 2021, these tools are archaic, they are ineffective. They spread soil and spread germs rather than the intended use of actually cleaning and making more sanitary a surface. So I have been in recovery. I'm actually celebrating my 10th year as a recovering soil spreader this year. And I'm happy to move myself away from not only single cavity mop buckets, but other soil spreading tools that are very common in our industry, still very much and sadly used in our industry, tools that just, again, do not effectively clean, but rather spread the soil around. And the good news is we've got, alternatives to that. We don't have to use a single cavity mop bucket. This is a real photo of a real bucket that I found out in the field, actually in California at a beverage distribution center, and there were 4 other ones just like it lined up with this bucket in use. And the director of operations even looked at me and said, "Yeah, I know, we're just spreading the soil around." And so I think people understand that they're not being effective, but they possibly don't know the alternatives, are not properly educated in the alternatives, and then don't know maybe which of those choices is best for them. And that's what we hopefully try to deliver on a regular basis now, is that education and that direction and advice. Lots of people, in fact, I would say 90% of our population are still in denial. When I say denial, meaning they're still using those types of tools in their facilities. Don't feel bad, don't feel guilty. You are in the majority. 90% of the people by our statistics and industry statistics are still using those types of tools, despite the fact that it's 2021 and there are so many better alternatives utilizing microfiber technology. A couple slides here to drive home my point of how ludicrous and how disappointing it is that we continue to use some of these tools. This is an airport restroom. Jim, you might say that I leave a very boring life, that I'm going around taking photos in a restroom. This is actually Detroit Metro Airport, and I time-stamped it at 7:45 a.m. This is in front of a male urinal. Very common sight, whether it's in Detroit or any other city in North America. Us guys, we unfortunately don't aim well, and we have that situation starting early in the morning in front of urinals. It doesn't take long for those little drips to turn into mini ponds or lakes, because repeatedly this happens. And as that happens and those puddles start to get larger, the user of the urinal will step back, making the intended target that much more difficult to hit. And as you see here, by 9:15 or later, you've got a major problem. Now, what do? We go in, typically 90% anyway, go in and use a single cavity mop bucket and a string cotton mop, and they take that urine and they spread it around that restroom floor. Most restroom floors, like this one shown in the right photo, are grouted. So grout is a breeding ground for bacteria. So it seems ludicrous, but we spread it around, put it into the grout lines. I'm talking about the urine. And then a couple hours later, we sit there and scratch our head as to why our restrooms smell like urine. And this is common again across the United States. It doesn't matter if it's a airport restroom or on the turnpike or at a nursing home. This is very common, and it is just unacceptable in our industry. So we have microfiber technology available to us, and we at Nufiber have tried to take microfiber technology and always try to pair it with the right bucket and or tools, so that not only can you do a more effective job in terms of cleaning and disinfecting an area, but you can do it much more efficiently, much more ergonomically when we combine the technology, the soft goods, with the appropriate tools. This graphic, for those that still may not understand why microfiber performs better, I still like this graphic. You can see it in thousands of places on the internet. And it basically graphically shows why microfiber performs better. On the left, microfiber, whether it's a cloth, a mop, or whatever the microfiber product, when it goes across a surface, microfiber is nothing more than, under a microscope, thousands of little hooks. And it's those hooks that when they go across the surface that are grabbing and collecting, almost like Pac-Man, the soil load and the bacteria, and just picking up everything that you want to remove on a given surface. On the right, you see a conventional fiber. They don't grab, they don't collect, but rather almost plow the soil load like a snow plow. So that, in essence, is why microfiber works so much better than cotton or cotton blended materials. The benefits of microfiber, I think most everybody acknowledges now that they are more effective and they trap and remove soil much better. Most people also know, to the far right, that microfiber, depending on the tool, lasts anywhere from actually 3 to 10 times longer, 5 times longer on the average than a equivalent cotton or cotton blended material. The unknown benefit of microfiber is that, unlike cotton, that when you transfer soil onto a cotton rag or a cotton mop, oftentimes it doesn't want to release what it picks up. It harbors it. That's why cotton mops immediately start to look discolored, gray, dingy, and oftentimes a cotton mop will get sour. It will actually, have a bacteria growth to where the mop will start smelling foul in a very short order. Microfiber is opposite of that. Microfiber picks up more, but it also releases when you properly clean or flush that microfiber tool. It will actually release, and therefore that contributes to why it performs better and why it lasts so much longer. Sometimes microfiber and switching to microfiber is threatening. It sounds like a big cultural change. And so oftentimes I just lose the word microfiber entirely. And I pose a question to a customer. If I could show you a faster way of cleaning that will be more ergonomic, that will do a much better job of cleaning and disinfecting, and by the way, it will be less expensive to your budget, would you be willing to take a look at that? And I think it's a non-threatening way and a way of targeting and or focusing customers and users to consider making a change, because it actually is got all these benefits and more, if they're willing to go through some minor change. What I like to say is, as a recovering soil spreader, is we offer 3 paths to recovery in terms of primary cleaning systems. So I look as the enemy that single cavity mop bucket and the cotton string mop. And so that we offer choices, and these different choices will address different footprint sizes of facilities. They'll address different soil loads. Some of our systems mandate that you have access to laundry. Some you can just clean the tools manually. You don't require machine laundry. Any one of those variables may drive an individual or a facility to one or a combination of these 3 choices, or as I like to say, 3 paths to recovery. Honestly, I don't care which one or which combination you choose, provided that you choose one of them and move away from being a soil spreader. And so as long as you're doing this, one of these 3, the one commonality that any of these have is that they actually clean and work rather than spread soil. So the 3 choices real quick, and I'm just going to give an overview here. The first one that's very popular, and in my estimation is the ultimate in no cross-contamination, is what we call a pre-treat pocket style mop system. So in this system, you totally eliminate a bucket and a wringer. There's no spreading of dirty water because there is no dirty water. So in this situation, you would pre-treat or charge your flat mop, that pocket mop shown in the picture, in a rectangular bucket that would either be on wheels, carted around, or it could sit on the front of your current custodial cart. And so depending on the area, depending on how many rooms, that's how many mops at the beginning of your shift or beginning of the day that you arm yourself with to do the cleaning. And then it becomes a situation where you're going to use 1 mop per area or 1 mop per room. Each mop, when properly dampened or pre-treated, is capable of doing 400 to 500 square feet. And so it's a perfect size or perfect capacity to do most public washrooms, resident rooms, patient rooms, even spot mopping in education, in classrooms, in and around the desks. It's very maneuverable, an excellent system, and it eliminates the going back and forth to the closet. A little added bonus is by doing this system, you reduce your chemical spend about 70% because you can pre-treat lots of mops with very little chemical. This one, I might add, though, as the final bullet indicates, because you're going to have multiple mops to have to clean at the end of your shift, it is much easier and almost mandates that you have access to or can send out to a laundry service. This gives you an idea of the number of mops and how much chemical solution is required. So again, very little use of water, very little use of chemical, while you do a better job of actually cleaning or disinfecting. A second method, if you like the maneuverability, light cleaning light to medium soil surfaces with a flat mop, but you don't want to or do not have the ability to do machine laundry, there is a divided bucket system with tab mop. This one is a mop that is flat and it will collapse. The frame will allow you to collapse so you can dip in, dampen a mop, wring it out to the desired wetness, and then put it on the floor, lock it in so you have a flat mop, and you go about your cleaning as you normally would. And when it starts to dry out or you load the mop with soil, you flush the mop out. You may notice in this photo, I'm not using a single cavity mop bucket, but a divided bucket. So you start with clear water underneath the wringer in that rear compartment. The clean chemical solution stays uncontaminated in the front compartment. So it's a matter of dipping it with the clean, tamping it out, picking up the soil, and then when you need to flush it, you go to the rear, flush the mop out, let the soil fall down into that back compartment, wring it out, and when you go back and re-dip in the front, you're going to always use clean, fresh chemical solution that's never contaminated with the dirty soil. These two systems are very maneuverable, very much applicable to tighter areas or smaller rooms, and for light to medium soil. Every facility will have situations where the soil load may be heavier, or you may want to have a system around to handle spills or accidents. And so our third path to recovery is the double bucket trolley, using a more traditional but yet microfiber tube mop. So this is just greater capacity, 225-liter buckets side by side on a trolley. The side with the wringer is where you put your rinse water. The side without the wringer is where your clean chemical solution is loaded. And then the more robust microfiber tube mop is, again, perfect for handling those larger areas. Up in Canada in particular, nasty winters, a lot of snow and ice melt to residue around entrances. This is a perfect solution and or choice of the mopping system to handle that situation. And then the bucket underneath the wringer may turn a little murky with that ice melter residue, but your neutralizer or your neutral disinfectant stays pristine and working at 100% capacity because you never contaminate it. So the benefits of the mop, by the way, is, again, it lasts 3 to 5 times longer in that last system. It will not spoil or sour, and it's mainly because it releases the soil. So you can expect, if you normally get about, let's say, a month out of a string cotton mop, you can anticipate 3 months plus with a mop with this style while it performs better. It's important to note that while the 3 paths to recovery focus in on floor cleaning, even though a couple of those systems do have vertical cleaning capability, there are also specialty tools and specialty microfiber soft goods that address vertical surfaces, basically anything flat within a facility that needs to be cleaned or disinfected can be handled more efficiently and more ergonomically with either trowels or wall wash frames and the appropriate tool. This is important, especially in these times when we're talking about maintaining and disinfecting and sanitizing cafeteria tables, desktops to keep our children safe. Again, anything that's flat in a facility can be cleaned with specialty tools that we offer. Also, in post-pandemic, we've always had color coding, but we emphasize the use of color coding as a means to stop the spread or stop cross-contaminating. So while some people like to choose their microfiber based on the color scheme and which one they prefer, because maybe purple's their favorite color or whatever, we would like a more practical use of color coding. We endorse the use of, for example, in restrooms, when you're cleaning what we call or define critical touch points, like the outside of the handles on urinals and toilet fixtures and such, that's a critical touch point. We recommend the use of red or pink towels for when you're cleaning and disinfecting those. And then we put those aside or put those into the dirty pile when we go over to the wash basin or the push plate on the door. And for example, we recommend that yellow would be the color of choice to handle those surfaces. Blue oftentimes is a general purpose type cleaner and so forth. When you're following color-coded programs using microfiber, it only increases the odds that there's no cross-contamination and you're keeping that building as safe as possible. Real quick, I wanted to comment on laundry recommendations. When cleaning any microfiber, you can clean microfiber with microfiber, but don't intermingle with your other textiles. So if you're collecting mops and you're collecting towels and maybe dust mops, they can all go in the same laundry. Just don't put your cotton towels or rags in with that same laundry, or you'll be picking out little pieces of lint from for the next hour, and you only make that mistake once. A biggie here is no fabric softener. I mentioned earlier little hooks, and those little hooks underneath the microscope that make up microfiber. When you use fabric softener, it actually coats the hooks and it really neutralizes the effectiveness. So you're actually being counterproductive. So we absolutely say no to fabric softener, as well as no or limited use of bleach, because we all know what bleach does to any textile. It's going to reduce the lifespan. The last biggie I want to talk about is just the topic of heat. Microfiber is a combination of polyamide and polyester. And while I know many of the cycles are set up, especially dryer cycles, for very high heat, excessive heat and an extended exposure to excessive heat can actually start to melt that polyester content in a microfiber cloth or mop. So we say low or no heat. I know when microfiber comes out of the washer spin cycle, it's about 80% dry anyway because it releases so nicely. And so just a 10 or 15 minute kind of fluffing or spin cycle is going to be more than adequate. If you take care of your microfiber, it can last a very long time, which factors into why it's such a good value. Early on, I wanted to make this comment. Early on, I'm going back 25, 30 years when microfiber came to North America. Some companies, because I think they were trying to justify back then what they feared was a higher price for products, they suggested that microfiber could be used and effective without any kind of chemical. And I'm here to tell you that while there is some effectiveness, if you don't use microfiber, or if you don't use chemical, we highly endorse the proper use with the proper microfiber and the proper chemical when addressing any kind of surface. So when matching your chemistry from Charlotte, you would want to make sure that you just simply understand what you're trying to accomplish and pair it with the right tool and the right microfiber technology or microfiber soft good if you want the optimal type of results.
Yeah, that's a good comment, Par, for sure. It's, I mean, you know, the magic of mirroring or pairing together chemistry with the actual proper tool is the way that you get the best end result, without question. I mean, how would you ever degrease your pots and pans in a kitchen sink with just a microfiber cloth or a paper towel or whatever if you didn't have any kind of detergency there whatsoever? You would get a result, but it wouldn't be the result that you want and what the public needs in general across the planet today. So we wanted to mention these 3-4 specific products there just quickly. I mean, you know, we've underestimated the value of a good quality neutral floor cleaner. And Enviro Solutions makes one of the best ones across the planet, without question, with eco logo approval and things like that. But it isn't just generally A floor cleaner. Nufiber has all kinds of tools for wall washing, for vertical surfaces, for horizontal surfaces, for floor surfaces and things. And that neutral cleaner, mirrored with Nufiber technology, will allow you to stay on the floor safely, avoid fall arrest equipment, wash your walls from top to bottom and so on, and all of your surfaces, and away you go. And it's very economical. It's safer for people. It increases, lowers the risk of employee wellness issues and things. And I mean, it's just a given that you should pair that with it for sure. Then when it comes to our winter months, I mean, when we get the calcium chloride stains, the rock salt stains, that white damaging corrosive material that tracks through your buildings, I mean, let's protect the mopping technology and the cleaning technology tools, and let's protect the capital investment of your buildings, your aluminum door tracks, your sliding doors, your carpeting, your entrance matting, all of those things. Using ES383 neutralizes all of those salt deposits and actually complements the performing of the Nufiber technology there. And I mean, it's a win-win, you know. And then, of course, in the last 18 months, we've all talked about disinfectants. We've overused disinfectants, as a matter of fact. Don't underestimate the value of really following the 5 critical elements of disinfecting, which is pre-cleaning first. I mean, Nufiber technology pre-cleans better than anything else across the planet. Match it with our chemistry, which is rated for COVID, realistic dwell times and things like that, and very economical at a 1:64 dilution ratio, and away you go. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, we've got our ES15, which is actually world famous. It's our #1 seller, ready to use, COVID rated in 30 seconds, by the way, and mirrored with the Nufiber microfiber towels and things like that, will actually benefit any particular facility and lower the risk of an outbreak. So, I mean, our job as a company is partner together with everybody and bring these solutions forward to you to give you the best and safest results across the planet. So I'll turn it back to you, Par. So that's, I mean, it's just a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. You just need to pair everything together for ultimate results, and we can do that. Well, again, I want to thank both you and Jim, for allowing me this opportunity at this webinar. I made a reference earlier that I'm a recovering soil spreader, and I think in the Q&A section here, I'm going to have the opportunity to explain how I've utilized that little, I call it's a lighthearted approach to address what I consider serious issues in our industry, and that is to finally start using tools that are available to us and have been available to us so that we actually clean. And so I've used a theme, if you will, of being a recovering soil spreader and kind of put it on steroids, and it allows me to hopefully grab people's attention to make a difference in the industry that I love. So keeping with that, I end all meetings with the Soil Spreader Serenity Prayer. And so please feel free, anybody out there, to join along with me. But we'll end it with this. Higher power, grant me the serenity to accept the soil I've spread in my past, the courage to explore alternatives to better cleaning, and the wisdom to make the transition. Thank you all very much. I hope you'll consider in the future to no longer be in denial and to jump aboard. Thank you all.
Yeah, that's terrific, Par. Thanks for joining us today. I know we've got several questions that have come in, and so let's get to the question and answer period now, and we'll proceed from there. Hey, that's an absolute great presentation there, Par, for sure. Thanks for sharing that with us and taking the time. Now is our question and answer period, and Jen slipped me the questions that have come in here. This first one we have is from Julie. It says, Par, who would you consider a soil spreader? I don't know if this is a good question or a bad question here from Julie. But
in our world, a soil spreader is anybody who is still using tools that actually do not clean surfaces effectively, but rather take dirty water or contaminated water and spread it around. I mentioned during the presentation, single cavity mop buckets. We all go into restaurants where we see a red bucket that says sanitizer, and we probably feel somewhat good that, oh boy, our table is being properly sanitized. But don't peek in and take a look at the condition of that water. You may be disappointed. So all the tools that are out there and have been out there for decades that are not utilizing 21st century microfiber technology and everything that comes with it, and are not therefore effective in cleaning and sanitizer. Unfortunately, we label as a soil spreader. Don't feel bad. I'm a recovering soil spreader, was an active spreader for 25 years. So there's many of us out there.
Well, that's good. You handled that well, because Julie may have been thinking you were blaming her, as a matter of fact, there. So that's great. And with the technology, I love the way you say the 21st technology, or 21st century of microfiber technology, because there has been a lot of advancements in that way. And I know, people are always looking at us to provide them with solutions. I mean, go to your closets. If you're seeing us, do a count on your single cavity mop buckets. Put that in your budget process, or have it as go to purchasing and get approval. But I mean, one of the simplest, safest things you could do for better results in including lowering the risk of an outbreak, is going to some sort of double cavity system, whether it's, like you say, the pre-treated, or whether it's the divided bucket or the trolley system. I mean, it's just a simple thing to do, very cost effective. Another question from Ross here. What is a recovering soil spreader?
Well, in reverse here, anybody who makes the transition and starts utilizing the technology that is available is in recovery. And it's not an event, but it's a process. I fully am realistic in the knowledge that some facilities can't, transition overnight. There are budgets and there are other challenges, but at least the awareness that there's better alternative methods that exist, that you educate your staff, and you have a plan to make that transition. In my world, you're transitioning and you're a recovering soil spreader.
Yeah, for sure. Here's one from Junior. Can you tell us a little bit about your history? I know you said a couple of words in the beginning, in particular as it pertains to a recovering soil spreader, I guess.
Well, I try to tell the story because it's a true story, and I think people can relate to it. Years ago, to make some extra money on the weekends, I found myself working with a floor crew, and we were stripping and refinishing floors in the thumb area of Michigan. And I had never done any kind of floor work, Jim, before. I didn't know anything. And so I was, the newbie, and they put me on the end of a doodle bug and a scraper as we stripped and stripped out this floor. It was an IGA, grocery store, about 6,000 square feet. And when we got it properly stripped out, they said, they must have been impressed with me enough. They said, well, we're going to let you help us rinse the floor. So I had never swung them out before in my life, and they gave me a rinse bucket, and I started one aisle, and they taught me the figure eight, and they said, nice, hey, you're a natural. And I got done with the first aisle, and I looked and peeked in my water, and again, I didn't know anything, but instinctively, I saw this cloudy, murky water because I was picking up stripper slurry underneath the shelving. And so I called the supervisor over and I said, hey, do I change my water? And I think everybody can relate. The supervisor peeked in and he said, no, that's good. You just keep going.
Keep going.
So I did a second aisle. Now it's twice as murky. I called him over again. Do I change my water yet? No, just keep going. Yeah. And I think that's the mentality that still exists in many facilities today, that, oh, it's not that bad a water condition. And so here we are. It's ludicrous. We're spreading this dirty water knowingly, and you're working. I can see the frustration because you're working hard. You're working up a sweat. You're doing something, but you're not being effective. Right. And that's what we've got to stop.
Yeah, for sure. And at Charlotte, we're the manufacturer of all of those stripping products and polymer coatings and urethane coatings and things like that. And we have a quality assurance program in place that we retain the batch samples for 3 to 4 years and things like that. And when a complaint comes in, it's always the finish is a problem. It's always, and really 95% it's the process of exactly what you're talking about and how simple they can go off track on getting the right result. And I mean, if you take that situation that you were in and you are leaving film and residual and everything else there, and you think it's just, you're going to put a coat of finish down and it's going to hide. Well, when it starts to dry, streaking and, fish eyes, all of those kinds of things. And then you've got that very costly labor process to go back and do it again. So what I like about our program is we're really trying to simplify the process and make it that anybody of any caliber and any, can actually do this. I mean, whether they're veterans or they're starting today. I mean, that's really one of our functions. So that's a great question.
And Jim, if I could add, and I tell people in the seminar, the recovery meetings that I do, I jokingly tell them, I didn't stop there. I began using single cavity mop buckets, feather dusters, cotton dust mops, other soil spreading tools. And then I'm in sales. And so I can't even begin to count the number of those tools that I've sold over the years in North America. So I tell people that I was the worst of all lots. I was a spreader and a dealer. And so, ironically, the supervisor that I referenced there that told me to keep going when I had dirty, murky water is the one that started or did my intervention about 10 years ago, taught me and educated me about microfiber technology and this world that was available to us for better cleaning processes. And that's where I find myself today, is going around and trying to find other active soil spreaders to help them transition.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of soil spreaders in the world today. How do we get that message across? I mean, do people, when you go out and talk to them and show them your program and things, do they generally buy in fairly quickly, or are they still troubled with the decision?
So my opinion is that most end users today are a lot smarter and more educated than we believe, because they're seeing some of these tools, infiltrate their home, consumer products that utilize microfiber. And so I think in our industry, the onus is on manufacturers like us, distribution, and everybody to make a concerted effort to take the extra time, to take the extra effort to educate, like we're hopefully doing today, of the alternatives. And instead of, we're all so busy today that if somebody calls in or somebody wants to order a single cavity bucket because their ringer broke and say, "Oh, send me another combo unit," it's too easy just to go ahead and do that and not take the extra couple minutes to say, I could do that, but here are some alternatives that are way more effective. So I think it's collectively all of us that need to just take the time to educate, to advise. And frankly, I think that the customer, the end user, is going to be a very open and willing participant to absorb that information.
Yeah, for sure. If you look at behind us, one of our 3 circles of value to our global customers is really that ability to transfer that experience and knowledge to our end users and facilities. And what's terrific is Nufiber. We're 100% committed to Nufiber here at Charlotte without question. You are a gold sponsor of our new training center as well. Our training center is 100% outfitted with everything we need to match it with chemistry and get the best end result. And just throw this out there for all of our customers. The training center is available for them to come here to actually do hands-on training and learning and things like that. I know, Par, you've committed to be here several times and things. In the 2022 year, which is almost scary to say, but in the 2022 is only 90 days away, no matter what way you look at it. and which is scary. But I mean, we're going to be hosting some YouTube webinars and things like that here where people can really learn. And there isn't as much knowledge transfer as there needs to be today, because everybody needs help, regardless of the type of facility, the people, and again, their experience in the industry and things like that. So it's really the best way to go. My favorite tool is the microfiber is the tube mop. I personally use it. I mean, you say 3 to 5 times longer than a traditional cotton mop. I say it's really 5 to 10 from what I actually do, but it's better to, under promise and over perform, I guess, is really what it is. But I mean, if people knew the difference and the quality and just from the ability from sustainability, from the amount of moisture pickup and absorbency and reducing the risk of a slip and fall when some customer walks through the barriers that you have up and things. I mean, these are tremendous, simple tools that are really, like you say, 21st century. And there's something that you really need to look at without question there. So I'm looking at my clock here, and I see we've got our timer coming to an end here. We could go on, Par. You and I have known each other for quite a few years for sure, 20 plus, that's for sure. And we could talk all day long. In fact, all week long, if the truth be known. Any closing comments for you? Any suggestions to the audience? And we have hundreds of people that actually are on this webinar all across the planet from all different countries. So I'll just leave it with you with a close.
Well, I real quick, I would like to address anybody out there that is, for whatever reason, has not made the transition, is still using these traditional tools. Do not be embarrassed to reach out to Charlotte, and I think you might be surprised. There's a lot of fallacies out there that microfiber is too expensive, which frankly 10 years ago maybe there was some truth to that, but when you factor in the longevity and all the other factors, frankly it's about the same price, and when you factor in the longevity, it's actually a better value. And so I think I would just like to ask people to keep an open mind, allow us to educate you and show the options without pressure, and I think you'll see what most people see, that this is just common sense. This insanity of spreading dirty water or using tools that flick dust up in the air and to land somewhere else. I mean, this has to stop. You and I love this industry too much. And frankly, it's shameful that it's 2021 and that we still do have 90% soil spreaders. So let us help you. Let us help all of ourselves, bring that percentage way down. I know that's my mission and your mission for however many more years we're going to be doing this. So,
it'll be lots of years there. That's for sure. They're not going to get rid of us. I mean, who would be able to fill those shoes? I'm sure lots, but we'll hang on there as long as we're contributing, which is really what we've done for a long period of time. That's for sure. So listen, Par, thank you very much once again for joining us today and taking time out of your schedule. An exceptional message. Our webinars are once a month. The next one will be October 15th, I believe, and join us then. So for some more experience and knowledge transfer, and everybody stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.